We are 35 episodes deep into this decision. So, what did we book for our next Walt Disney World vacations?
Welcome to Always Planning Disney, where planning is half the fun. I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Melissa.
And on this channel, we talk through all of the details that go into making our vacations magical.
So, you've been booked a little bit longer than I have been. So, tell us what you ended up with.
Yeah, we have our trip booked and it's very exciting. I feel like it's real now, and we may not stay where we booked, but we have a place to stay at Disney World. They have to let us go now. So we have a 10-day, 9-night split stay booked for January 2023. So it's less than a year away. The first 5 nights are at Saratoga Springs Resort in 2 studios, one for my folks and one for my family. And then the second half of our stay is 4 nights at Animal Kingdom Lodge, Kidani Village in a 2-bedroom villa. So we didn't think that was an option because of the points that we thought we had available to us with this whole point borrowing restriction situation. If you're wondering what I'm talking about, go back and check out the What in the World Should Cheryl Book episode. I will link it above. And that explains all of the things that were going on. But I guess it worked out because we're booked. So it must have worked. So there are certainly benefits to a split stay vacation, especially since this is a longer trip. So it's almost like we have like 2 short trips smashed together. But at the same time, we'd kind of prefer not to mess around with having to repack our stuff in the middle of our trip and then settle into a new resort. Like, even though I know that Bell Services will take care of the actual moving of the luggage for us, it's extra hassle, it's extra time in the middle of our vacation. So I am hoping to change our booking once we get into the 7-month DVC booking window. And ideally, that point borrowing restriction will go away and it will be back to normal where our family member is able to borrow as many points as she would like from the next use year. And then we would be able to get a 2-bedroom villa at the Boardwalk. That there's a lot of stuff that has to happen in order to make that a possibility for us. So cross your fingers, because we would really love for that to happen. But if not, we're going to have to decide if we want to do a full stay at Animal Kingdom Lodge or do a split stay with a cash booking for the first 3 nights and then the last 6 at the Boardwalk, which is how many nights we'd be able to get with the points that we would have available to us. So we have until our 7-month booking window opens in June to make that call. And until then, I think we'll be having pointless discussions among ourselves because we don't have enough information available to actually make a decision. But I'm sure there will be a lot of just talking through our options until then.
So with what you ended up with, what are you excited about?
Yeah, so we might wind up staying there, right? Because I don't know, Disney is really unpredictable right now. And we could get to the point where even if those point restrictions change, we still have to keep our original reservation because there's just not availability at other resorts at the 7-month window, right? I would be totally fine with that. So I am excited about the possibility of a split stay, even though I don't want to repack my stuff. It would be cool to like check out 2 different resorts on a single vacation, because we don't get to go to Disney every year or multiple times a year like some folks do. This is an every few years vacation for us. And that means that we haven't gotten to stay at quite as many resorts as some other people do. So it would be cool to be able to do a split stay if we wind up keeping this initial booking that we have. And then I'll say Saratoga Springs Resort would not have been my first choice or even my second or third choice of resort. But it's one of our family members' home resorts. So that's where we booked our initial booking. And after we booked it, we watched a few review videos from vloggers and all ears. And I'm really glad that we did that instead of just looking at things online, because in watching the videos, it looks like a beautiful resort. It looks so just like relaxing and vacationy. And it feels actually a lot like Port Orleans Riverside, which is where we stayed when I was growing up. So it's got similar vibes to that, I think. So that's really exciting. And we also found out after we booked it and started looking into it a little bit more that it has a Donald Duck splash pad.
Oh.
And Donald is our son's favorite Disney character. He's obsessed with Donald Duck. But unfortunately, I just got notice recently that that pool is going to be closed for renovation during our trip. So presumably the splash pad as well. Of course, right? So that's really unfortunate. So if we did wind up staying there, I hope that somehow, I don't know, their calendar gets shifted around or something. But the location at Saratoga Springs is also great for either walking or boating over to Disney Springs. So I think we could eat a lot of good food on this trip. There are a whole bunch of restaurants over there that we would like to try out and that we haven't tried out before, just because it feels like a trek to get to Disney Springs. So we do it maybe once, twice a trip. And this we could go every evening if we wanted to. And we would probably wind up hitting up hot cookie hour at Gideon's every evening would be my guess. You can't go wrong, right?
Right.
So that would be awesome. But the internal bus system does make me nervous. There are like 4 or 5 stops around Saratoga Springs. So I do think that if we wind up keeping this booking, we'll have to have a hard conversation about whether we want to book a rental car and drive into the parks, at least for that first half of our trip where we're at Saratoga, or maybe just budget for more minivan rides for the times when we really want to be there at rope drops, so that we don't have to worry about, I just get worried about like, you know, does a bus go by because it's full, right? Because that can happen when you have those internal bus resorts. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, we'll have to think about transportation options if we do decide to go, or if we have to go with this initial booking. And then for the second half of our trip, we loved Animal Kingdom Lodge last trip, and we just didn't really feel like we fully took advantage of it because, I don't know, it was a crazy schedule. We had a napping kid, and it just felt like a very busy trip. So a redo on Animal Kingdom Lodge would be awesome. We didn't eat at any of the sit-down restaurants there last trip, which I have deep regrets about. So we would definitely book at least one sit-down meal, probably at Sanaa or Jiko. And we would take more time just wandering around the grounds, checking out the animals, doing the activities that they have on site, and enjoying the pool. We didn't really do much of that either. That was mostly weather related because it just was too chilly in the afternoons for a lot of our trip. And then we're also currently booked on the Kidani Village side. And last time we were at Jambo House. I do think we would prefer to go back to Jambo House just because that's the side of the resort where the quick service restaurant and the main pool are. And it is a bit of a hike between them, especially in the afternoon when it's like full sun. I did that once because I needed to hop off at Kidani and then walk back to Jambo, and it was warm and it is not scenic. I asked a cast member if there was a safari walk, and he said I would have to like hop on a giraffe and ride it over to Jambo House. And I said, surely you offer that service. This is Disney World. So anyway, it's a parking lot view if you're walking between the two sides of the resort, which seems like a missed opportunity to me. I'm sure there's a reason for it. There's probably some sort of important infrastructure or whatever. Anyhow, it would be cool to experience the other side of the resort, but I think if we keep this Animal Kingdom Lodge booking, I may try to hop it over to Jambo House. So lots to look forward to if we do wind up keeping this initial split stay. And no matter what, we're at Disney World. Can't go wrong.
Very true. And you still have lots of decisions to potentially make. So your planning for this part isn't even complete yet.
It's not done yet. And it sure is fun to talk about. So that is fine with me. But what I really want to know, Melissa, is you left me hanging a few episodes ago. Where do you have a booking? And if so, where, when? Tell me everything.
So I'm excited to share this because the last time I even talked to you off camera was the day that we put in a request to rent points. And so much has happened since then. So we settled on 7 nights, sometime in between the marathon and half marathon. So January, February, our usual time, Festival of the Arts. We love it. It's a great break from Midwest winters. And we also chose Boardwalk, and we knew we were going to rent DVC points, obviously, or else that's just not in the budget. So I set out to book the trip. I went with David's Vacation Club rentals just because of the reputation, and that was important. Also, it seems like they have a lot of people who participate with them, so we felt like this was our best chance. I did a price estimate for every 7-night window in January and February, and I found that the prices creep up in early February and then they soar up in mid-February. Huge difference. I forget offhand, but I think it makes a jump of just like $100 or $200, and then it's like $500-$600 more expensive after that. It leaps. So we were torn between an overlapping vacation with you and your family or warmer pool weather by bumping later into February. And this is when I was talking to you. We had a lot of debate over this, and we decided that we do get enough pool time in general, and we don't know why we were so hung up on using pools. So we went with a request for overlapping dates and felt really good. We put the request in, and I assumed you put the request in, they find a match, and then you give them the rest of your money. But that is not how it works. So David's replied that that week is not available, and they can book me at a different resort for the same week, or we can look at other dates. I'm like, okay, we need to look at other dates because Boardwalk is the most important factor of all of the options you're giving me when it comes between other resorts or different dates. We're going to go different dates. So they replied and told me, no, those dates I wanted are not good. So I'm like, well, so now what? Like, what can you do? So they shared a calendar of availability, which is very helpful because I could see what was open. And the issue is that most of the available weeks in January and February were not full weeks. Like there would be 2 days blocked out in the middle, and we just couldn't work around it. We were aiming to go like weekend to weekend. So we would be in the parks during the weekdays when presumably it would be less busy. Not that I think there is a less busy time right now. And we even looked at doing like Wednesday to Wednesday. There was nothing. We could not get 7 nights in a row. So like, okay, we need to rethink this. Let's look at this calendar again, really think about what it is that we want. So we found a stay that would allow us to shave 1 day off of our trip and give us 5 park days. And we're like, we know that that's fine. That's a Disney standard, right? 5 park days, we can do it. So we went with that week, which ended up being in early February. We would have 5 park days. It was right at the slow price increase. We're feeling good. We'll take that one. I lost a park day, but whatever. And they're like, okay, yeah, we'll get on that. Give us $130 deposit. So pay the deposit. A day or so later, I get another email that says, well, there's availability that week, but nobody is offering up their points to be rented. So the way that it works for people like me who are trying to get these points, we put in a request. David's make sure there's availability, and then they dig into their pool of DVC owners and see who is offering up their points. They facilitate the whole thing, and I sort of knew this, but didn't really process what it would mean. We're in this post-COVID, it's not really post-COVID, but we're after Disney being closed down.
Right.
And there's probably a lot of DVC owners who didn't go in 2020 or 2021 who wanted to, and now they are using their points. There's others that are facing the point restrictions you mentioned. There's probably just less of a pool of people that they can rent from when we put in our request. So the options we were given is that we could cancel our request with David's, or we could get put on a waiting list because new people join all the time, things get canceled, whatever. I'm like, okay, yeah, put us in line because we would love to stay at Boardwalk anytime January, February. I don't just whatever, give us whatever. And I was thinking that during that 7-month window, it might become possible to get Boardwalk when that ability to rent non-home resorts opens, but that also relies on there being that availability that's been open for so many months. I don't know. I was like, we'll get in line. It'll be fine. We'll get in line. So we were waiting in line and we were wondering, maybe we should do a split stay, like what you ended up with. If we can't get our full week, we could do part of it at Boardwalk, part of it somewhere else. I was kind of okay with this. The advanced dining reservation thing is always iffy because Disney treats a split stay as 2 different stays. So your first day of vacation starts over. I also didn't want to move our stuff from hotel to hotel either, even though I wasn't going to be the one moving it. I'd still have to pack it. Yeah. I wasn't a big fan of the split stay. So I said, let's wait in line for a month, I guess, and then jump out if they couldn't match us.
Okay.
As a backup, I ran numbers for Swan and Dolphin. Again, that's a no-go. It was still way too expensive. We ran the numbers for Shades of Green again, which is in our budget. And we also considered waiting till summer and doing a traditional through Disney package like we've always done. But I really wanted the extra hours at night that you get from staying at a deluxe. And I'm just not staying at a deluxe through a Disney package. It's way out of budget. So Shades of Green became our runner-up best choice. Also, we have stayed at Pop so many times and the moderates don't appeal to me enough. It was going to be Boardwalk or Shades of Green as the backup. So I was going to wait a month. That was my plan.
Okay.
Another day or two and I get another email.
Uh-oh.
Our perfect February week is no longer available and we'd have to make it a day shorter. And that's on top of already making it a day shorter than what we wanted, which is pushing us into doing a split stay. Mm-hmm. So we start looking at our options for the split stay and we're like, well, this could be cool because we could pick another place that we've never gone and maybe like off the rack. It would be a great way to experience a resort, but not have to be committed to it because we'd still get one we really want to go to. Are we going to tack on the nights before or after? Or do we just cancel and book what we want somewhere else? There were full weeks available through David's at other resorts and a couple were in budget, but it's not where we wanted to stay. Boardwalk was a leader because of the affordability and the proximity to Epcot. And we're not going to give up our Epcot proximity that was so important to us because Yacht and Beach Club were way more money. And of course, Polynesian's always on the list, but
of course,
but clearly not. So going into all of this, I really thought it would be ask David's for a week. They would confirm it, get back with an owner. We'd give them some money. It would be done. Maybe not as smooth as booking through Disney, but I didn't think it would be so much back and forth and so much of us trying to determine what we're willing to compromise on our Disney vacation in terms of location or number of days. So we canceled our spot in line.
Okay.
We are not renting DVC points. It was time to do something else. So guess what? I reran the prices on Swan and Dolphin again.
Oh my gosh.
It still didn't work. We checked Rack Rate Deluxe just because I don't know. I forgot who I was and that I'm spending my own money. I don't know. Port Orleans, which is the moderate that we've had on our list. We kind of looked at that again. For a brief moment, we're like, we're so good with Pop and our giant bowling pins. But I had to recalibrate and not get flustered and stick to the list of what it is we wanted, which are those extra nighttime hours or whatever other benefit Disney's going to give deluxe resorts. I have a feeling that all the benefits are going to be deluxe or nothing. So what about going through a different third-party vendor for renting points? I didn't have it in me. I thought if David's couldn't do it, forget it. So I hopped on the Shades of Green website and with 2 clicks, I grabbed a room that gave us the original 6 park day trip we wanted and with dates that overlap your trip a little bit. So on our arrival date, if that's like a Disney Springs day you have in mind, we can totally meet up.
Oh my God.
And I saved $200 off of what our original DVC rental quote was. So I am booked. It is not yet in the app because I have to figure out how to get a Shades of Green reservation into my app. But my final booking, 7 nights, Shades of Green, standard room in January. I'm not changing anything because it was a pain.
Oh my gosh, that was a journey.
It was stressful. I was worried through a lot of it because we so wanted to stay at Boardwalk. We had been watching videos. We were totally sold on it, but David's couldn't pull it off for us. So we're just going to have to wait. And I am worried a bit about missing the robustness of a Disney themed resort. But Shades of Green is beautiful. We've been watching videos on that. I'm really excited about the price. We can walk to the Polynesian, which will really fill my soul. It's not Epcot, but we're just a monorail away, which is not too bad. The proximity is still good. And one of our favorite things is that Shades of Green has a full exchange on site. And the exchange is a military general store that is, first of all, tax-free, and second, just cheaper to begin with. And unlike a hotel store that is selling you $10 aspirin and bags of chips, this is like regular grocery store. Things are full size and priced as they would be elsewhere. So we'll be able to get staples, food, and full size alcohol without having to do grocery delivery. So day one, we're visiting the exchange to stock up there instead of doing grocery delivery. That's probably what I'm most excited about, is getting our food on site.
That sounds super handy. And then you don't have to worry about, I always get worried about forgetting something in a grocery order, because it's not like I have a car to just like run back to the corner store or something. It's either I get it all in my order or I pay exorbitant Disney prices for my groceries. So that's going to be super handy.
Yeah. Yep. And we have always run into spending way too much for alcohol at the hotel, even if we get like a bottle for in room, because they can mark it up to whatever the top of the legal limit is, because alcohol prices are regulated by state, but you have a window, and you know Disney is not making theirs at the lower end of the window. It will be
of course
the highest.
Of course. So is there anything else that you're really excited about in terms of like what the rooms are like, or what the kind of vibe is? I know it's not going to be giant bowling pins, right? It's going to be kind of the opposite of that. Or like, what other amenities that do they have? I've read all of one magazine article on Shades of Green, so I'm like completely unfamiliar. What's cool about it besides the price?
It looks very calm and peaceful, which I think our goal with spending a little bit more time at the resort was to have that downtime. So in the like lobby atrium, there's this huge waterfall. There's lots of it's landscaped very beautifully and sort of calm. There are not the same types of resort activities that there are at the other places, which we were really looking forward to. But there are two pools. One of them is a zero entry and looks very quiet, and they have a lot of games scattered around. So our kids are going to love that, playing ping pong and giant Connect Four, and I don't know, throw an object into another object, whatever yard games people come up with. There's a lot of that we're really excited about. And also the walking path from Shades of Green to Polynesian is scenic. It's very it looks like it's transitional from this sort of like magnolia tree themed of Shades of Green into the tropical plants of Polynesian. So I'm really looking forward to that walk because I like to walk. The location excites us, obviously the price, and there's also a lot of places to eat and drink right there in the resort. I think it's comparable to other deluxe. So there's grab and go. There's grab and go right by where their bus system runs out of too. So in the morning you can get your coffee and you're 5 feet from where the bus picks you up. I'm very
that should be everywhere.
I know. What a missed opportunity, you know?
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting. And I know that this was kind of like when we had initially talked about resorts for this trip, you were saying like, this is the trip where we're going to rent DVC points. We're going to try that out. And we're going to stay at the boardwalk. And this is going to be our trip for doing those things. But when we were talking about that stuff, like you didn't have this military connection like you do now. And who knows how long that's going to wind up lasting. Like maybe this is your only opportunity to stay at Shades of Green. So it's cool that you're taking advantage of it.
Yeah, we're excited about it, even with the loss of our original plan, which it can be so hard sometimes to give up on what you know, like latch onto, especially after how much time we put into making that decision. But it was not the year for it.
It doesn't seem like it. So can I just ask, how long were you in that process of going back and forth with David's DVC before you pull the plug on that?
Yes. It was probably a week and a half or 2 weeks. I feel like we heard from them every day or every other day. I originally had said we were going to stick it out for a month, maybe even longer. But as our week vanished, every time I would hear from them, we weren't willing to shorten our trip to rent the points. So we weren't in line for the full month I had planned. I think I ended up staying in line for maybe a total of 4 days before I canceled.
Okay, that's really good to know, because I do hear a lot of people talking about, like, when they're considering whether they should buy into DVC, which is a huge financial commitment. And I hear other people saying, like, oh, just rent DVC points each year. Like, they've got all these services available. It's still going to be way cheaper than rec rate from Disney. And they make it sound like it's as easy as booking a cash room. And from your experience, it sounds like there's a whole lot more to it than that. So that's really good to know.
Yep, it was not easy. We are going to try it again, but I don't know if 2022, 2023 is probably not the time to try to rent DVC points and expect it to work perfectly smooth.
That makes sense. All right. Well, it seems like we have a future video ahead of us, because we had talked about meetup options and those aren't hypothetical anymore. So we're going to have to settle on something as we come up on perhaps our ADR booking window, in case we wanted to make a reservation or anything like that. So, ooh, that's really exciting. Yay.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for tuning in, and remember to like and subscribe to plan along with us.